when the friendships you have are because you attracted them, right? The friendships you have in your life now is because y'all were equally yoked. Y'all were on the same level. But in a relationship too. But once y'all start to become unequally yoked, you're going to start to feel this friction where it's like you're almost like pulling apart. And it's because you're no longer equally yoked. You're trying to rise to a new level while that person is still staying at the same place, or you're trying to grow in size while that person is still at the same size. And it's going to you're going to continue to feel this resistance. You're going to continue to feel this friction in the relationship until you actually just end it, like cut the yoke, you know? I've had a couple of seasons of isolation, some good and some bad. I feel like I just was in a season of isolation for real, but it was like the bad kind. Like you can isolate in a good way and a bad way, meaning I feel like the good way to isolate is when you're separating yourself from maybe your environment so you can grow. And then the bad type of isolation is when you separate yourself from other people or from your community because maybe there's something wrong and you're so sad that you're pushing everybody away. You're like choosing to be by yourself in your sadness, maybe. Like that's how I view bad isolation. So I just was in bad isolation for like a good 2 months. I was just very depressed. And
you was like forcibly distancing yourself because you were like kind of like embarrassed, basically.
I wasn't embarrassed. I was just sad. I was so sad. And at first, I actually kind of wanted to stay there, which is crazy because I'm not generally like a sad person. But I had actually wanted to stay in sadness because I felt like I wanted to stay there so I could process what I was feeling, if that makes sense. I felt like I can't move on yet because I'm not over what happened. So I want to stay here and feel it because it still hurts my feelings. Like I'm still sad about what happened. So I want to stay here until I'm done being hurt, until I heal from this. I want to just stay here and be sad. But it wasn't until I started going to my community that I started to come out of the depression. And so until I started talking to people in my life and telling them, hey, this has been going on, this has been going on, this has been going on. All of this stuff has been going on. And I'll cry and I'll cry and I'll cry and I get it all out. And I would feel better. And so it felt really good, like, oh, I'm going to my community instead of like having all these like mental battles, you know, in my mind. And so that was like bad isolation.
Because you got people to talk to at that time.
Exactly, yeah. So that was like bad isolation, and that really affected me bad. I feel like that was my first time realizing, not even my first time realizing how bad depression affects you. But I knew depression affects you, but it like really, really affected every area of my life. I was getting sick, stuff that was out of my control. Everything was going bad, and my mom was trying to say that just because you're focused on bad things doesn't mean that that you attract bad things. She was like, everything is a result of your actions, but it was literally stuff I had no control over at all, and just bad stuff was happening. Like my freaking car just broke down on the side of the freeway for no reason. The car was perfectly fine. Like literally, it had been fine. And then it just stopped working. Like it was so much stuff that was going wrong. And I feel like because I was just so sad, all I was attracting was bad stuff, you know? But yeah, so that was like bad isolation for me. And I would never do that again in life because I see like all the problems that it caused.
How do you avoid that though? How do you avoid the bad side of it?
You have to be aware, and it comes down to making a choice for real. I know some people hate when others say depression is a choice, but I do feel like being depressed is a choice. But you have to make a choice. I chose to focus on everything that was going bad in my life. I chose to sit there and focus on, dang, I like this is happening, this is happening. Not only that, it was what I was speaking over myself. I kept speaking over my life. Hey Drew, I kept speaking over my life that, oh, I am so depressed. I am depressed. I'm depressed. I kept saying it over and over and over again. And your words are so powerful. And so I think Yanni mentioned this tonight when she was saying, she said something about focusing on what your life equals. I forgot how she worded it. You know what I'm talking about? Instead of focusing on thoughts that are greater than, you focus on thoughts that are equal to, meaning you're focusing on like where your life is right now, opposed to focusing on where your life could be in the future.
Yeah, focus on basically.
Yeah, so I think getting caught up in your circumstances or getting caught up where your life is right now, that is something that I feel like gets you caught on the bad side. But I think what I'm still trying to figure out is where is the balance, or what is the balance between processing, like how do you process some terrible or traumatic or bad stuff that happens to you? Like sometimes actual bad things really do happen. Not just, oh, some stuff happened with clients, or, oh, I got a flat tire. Like some stuff, sometimes really bad stuff actually does happen. And so I'm still kind of trying to figure out, how do you process it without trying to make it seem like, oh, I'm being fake positive. You know, like how do you process
Taking it personal.
Yeah, like, okay, yeah, exactly. It's like something bad actually happened to me. I don't want to just pretend like, oh, I'm okay. I don't want, that feels fake. Or just to pretend like, oh, I'm positive, even though something bad happened. I want to pretend like I'm good. And so, I had told my mom I want to figure out, how do you find the balance between healing and processing something bad or traumatic that happens to you, and also like still moving forward, like not staying stuck there, because that's what I did for the past 2 months. When I say stuck, where that sadness and all that stuff was, and so yeah, that's like the bad side of isolation.
You gotta really train your mind to like not really even overthink it, like just be able to think positive the whole time. Like,
but that's the thing though, it's like that feels fake to me, because I don't know, I guess it just comes down to, okay, so I think that's where the community comes back into place, or maybe even therapy. Because I feel like I said, once I started going to my community and telling them like, hey, this thing happened to me, like this thing happened in my life, or actually telling them this is happening, all this stuff is happening and going wrong in my life right now. I think once I started telling my community that, then it was like a release, and it felt, I don't know, I felt less alone, maybe, you know, I felt better, and that helped more with the processing, honestly, instead of just keeping it all bundled up inside. Because I think at one point I was going to my mom and a friend about everything that was going on, and then yeah, I was going to my mom and a friend about what was going on, but eventually I just stopped, because I felt like, dang, I'm annoying. Like, I don't want to be the girl that got stuff going like wrong with her, you know? So I don't want to be that person that gets on people's nerves because she's freaking sad. And so I think that's what made me go into that bad isolation state was, well, I don't want to get on people's nerves and tell them I'm sad again for like the 5th time this week. So let me just not tell anybody, and let me just keep it in my head. And then you get in your own world, and that's how you go deeper and deeper and deeper into that hole. It's when you make that choice. And so I think that's the choice you have to be aware of. Even, something just came to my mind and kind of talked about this at church today. Did they talk about this? Either they mentioned this at church, or it was just something that God placed on my heart. But you got to keep going, like, forward. And really what I'm thinking about is you really got to keep going to God, keep going to your community, because that is where, like, the breakthrough, the freedom, the peace, all of that will be. So you, like, keep going towards that. Sometimes we expect that peace, that freedom, that breakthrough to happen without like fully committing to going forward. I'm trying to think of a better way to explain it. It's like
you gotta have that confidence knowing it's gonna be better.
Yeah. Like you. Okay, so for example, it's like you have to really be willing to show up. It takes some type of energy or effort for you to show up and like push forward towards better. And so you have to be willing to do that. If you're not willing to do that, then you're just going to stay stuck where you are. You're going to stay in that sad place, that low place. And so, yeah, I definitely feel like I'll be better from now on as far as like avoiding going into that space. But it definitely was, yeah, that was definitely like bad isolation for sure.
All right, so before we get on like good isolation, I want, because you mentioned community, I want to talk about like how important it is to have the right people around you. How do you know who's for you, who's not for you, and if so, like how do you handle? How do you, you know what I'm saying?
I feel like I'm not the best person to ask how to know who to have around you. Okay, so there's always discernment, right? But we talked about this on a podcast episode before, but I was raised to be friendly. I was raised to be everybody's friend. My dad is the friendliest person in the world. And so I grew up watching him be friends with everybody. We could be in another country, another state, another city. It does not matter. He is going to go and talk to some strangers and act like he is their best friend. And so seeing that from,
I think that's how I am, or I used to be.
Yeah. So seeing that as a young child, you think, oh, you program in your mind to be friends with everyone. You program in your mind to talk to everyone, to view everybody as your friend. So throughout life, especially once I got to high school, I thought everybody was my friend. I thought I had about 40 friends. I had a list of like 7 best friends. Everybody was my friend, and I became a very trusting person. And that has unfortunately ended up biting me in the butt, because you're trusting people that you shouldn't trust. And not only that, I've developed like, I don't know what to call it. It's like this need to hold on to relationships, because I care. Like if I care about people, if I care about somebody that's in my life, I care about them deeply. My friends, family, relationships, whatever it is. If I care about you, I care about you a lot. If I view you as my for real friend, then I want to hold on to that. And so the reason I said I'm probably not the best person to ask that question is because there's been plenty of people in my life who probably don't need to be in my life now, who didn't need to be in my life in the past, who showed me signs that they are not people I should have around me. But I think because of, one, me being so trusting and still viewing everybody as my friend, even though they hurt me, I'm still viewing them as my friend. So yeah, being trusting and being so friendly, and also that desire or that need to feel like, I have to hold on to certain relationships or hold on to certain friendships. It's put me in a lot of bad situations. More recently, in the past few years, for real, it's put me in a lot of bad situations. And so now, that is what I'm working on, is being more aware of like, okay, who are the people that I should keep close to me and who should I push away? And it's not like it's not something that I haven't ever known. I'll say even in the past few years, when I was very aware of actually like, okay, this person has done something at least a couple of times to me. They probably shouldn't be my friend. They're probably not good for me. It would still be hard for me to break that tie. And so my advice is, once you become aware of people you shouldn't have in your life, then it's just best to end that. It's something that I realized is in friendships and relationships, the Bible talks about like being equally yoked. So I feel like that applies to not just relationships but friendships too. Meaning y'all are being equally yoked means like when you take 2 oxen. This is how it's explained in the best way to explain it. You take 2 oxen, you yoke them together, you tie them together. If one ox is smaller or not as strong as the other one, they are unequally yoked. They are not going to be able to go through this field. They're not going to be able to go through this field and work this field as a team, as a successful unit, because they have different strengths. They're different sizes, you know. And so in friendships and relationships, you have to be equally yoked. And so something that I've realized is that I feel when the friendships you have are because you attracted them, right? The friendships you have in your life now is because y'all were equally yoked. Y'all were on the same level. But in a relationship too. But once y'all start to become unequally yoked, you're going to start to feel this friction where it's like you're almost like pulling apart. And it's because you're no longer equally yoked. You're trying to rise to a new level while that person is still staying at the same place, or you're trying to grow in size while that person is still at the same size. And it's going to you're going to continue to feel this resistance. You're going to continue to feel this friction in the relationship until you actually just end it, like cut the yoke, you know? And so now I'm working on being more aware of that, and also just trying to, the other thing I thought about when it applies to leaving relationships or friendships that aren't equally yoked, I learned that you have to love yourself enough to be able to leave those friendships and relationships. Something I've learned from being in isolation is that I realized I really didn't love myself like that for real. And that can sound crazy to say, but I really did not love myself, and I still am working on that. And someone who truly loves themselves is not going to play when it comes to them. If you really love yourself, you aren't going to let people in your environment who don't love you as much as you do, or give you what you deserve, or you feel like add to your life. If you don't love yourself that much, you are going to allow a lot of people in your life who really don't add much value to you, or who just want to drain you, who just want to take from you. And so that's why it's important to make sure that you have that discernment to know who are people I should keep close to me and who should not keep close to me. But also you have that love for yourself to know, okay, I love myself enough to know who should be around me. Like, what do I deserve? What type of people even deserve to be in my presence? And that's not even to sound cocky, but that's really how you got to think. Because if you just allow anything, if you don't love yourself, you will allow anything. And people can sense that. People can sense when, she really don't care about herself that much, so I know I could treat her this type of way. And so people are able to sense that. So you have to be able to carry yourself a certain way and actually have genuine love for yourself, so that way you can attract a higher quality of people. And so, yeah, that's my answer to that question.
Yeah, I feel like you gotta take like your life and who you are and your time sacred. Like, you can't just give it to everybody, because once you start being too friendly and start like opening up to everybody, then you become vulnerable.
Literally.
And anybody can take advantage of you from that point.
Exactly.
But I'll ask you, let's go back to the good isolation, because you didn't talk about it.
Okay. So, good isolation. So, for me, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like good isolation is when you're separating yourself from your environment to grow, right? So, I'll say my favorite season that I've had of good isolation was honestly during COVID. We got to talk about it a little bit during book club the other night when I was telling you about how that age of 21, like, I like separated myself from a lot, and I saw so much fruit in that season. It was amazing. And so during 2020, I got saved in 2019. In 2020, that was during that time. So I got saved November 2019. So early 2020, God started showing me so much about myself. He started showing me my purpose. He started showing me like vision. God started showing me just a lot of my character flaws. Like, God showed me the fact that you have an issue with being really jealous. You're a jealous person. You get jealous of people that you're close with. You're an unforgiving person. You're quick to get angry. Ooh, and that would be another thing. Like, I know I'm always smiling, always goofy, all of this stuff, but I was always like that. But I would get angry fast, but just not show it. Like, I would hide it. You know, I would be quick to get angry at people. So God was showing me all of this stuff, and during 2020, it was like God took that time to work on me, like do actual work on me. It's so much that's going through my head, so I'm trying to see what I want to say first. But
He was just making you really like self-aware of yourself.
Yes, that is when I finally became self-aware. And so another thing I had told y'all was during that time, I remember I didn't even necessarily go to a bunch of self-help books. I think I had the one book that I read often, Think and Grow Rich, the Black version. I read that often, but I would like go to God, go to the Word at that time, and I would ask God, okay, how do I get better at this whole jealousy thing? Like, I don't want to be a jealous person anymore. Like, I truly didn't want to be a jealous person anymore, but I just figured, oh, that's just who I am. I don't know how to stop this. But that was like something God showed me how to overcome. And so during that time of isolation, God was showing me how to overcome these different things, like how to become more forgiving. God was showing me how to grow in my confidence, like all of these different things. And so I was seeing a transformation, not just internally, but even like externally. I'll say like even in my craft, right? So I had isolation for me to grow as a person, but also isolation for me to grow as Jada the designer. And so I spent a whole year and some change literally locked in on my craft, and I was able to see my skill grow and transform so much in such a short period of time. Like, I remember so many people used to tell me when they started to see my work and stuff after me having that season of isolation, they were like, bro, something changed. They would be like, literally, there's a difference. Like, this is not the same Jada. And that's how you know you had a successful season of isolation. When you come out of that season and people say, oh, you're not the same. Like, it's very obvious. Like, you are not the same person. Your skill isn't the same. How you carry yourself is not the same. How you talk, it is not the same. And so that's what happened for me. I used to literally be I used to be in awe of like the stuff that I started to create. It was like my creativity went to like level 100. It went from level 3 to level 100, all because I took that season of isolation and I started to actually believe in the vision that God gave me. I remember at one point in time, I used to think that creativity was limited. Like, some people got to be really creative in life and some people just didn't get it. And I remember I used to think that I didn't have my own vision, right? Like, I used to think that when it came to even designing, I used to think that I had to just copy what had already been done. I used to think that there was no like me creating anything.
Yeah.
I would just take bits and pieces of what's already been done in the world and recreate it and just slap my name on it. And even during that time, like, to see that I was able to create on like a whole new level, but not even like referencing other people's stuff. It was all straight my ideas. Like, it was the dopest thing in the world. I would sit there and be creative for hours and just be so amazed, like, wow, this is in me, like, I can do this. But I never would have figured any of that out if I wouldn't have took that season of stepping away, like closing my business down, taking that time to get to know myself, like understand what is Jada, like who is Jada, what is the good about Jada, what is the bad about Jada. I would have never even gotten to that point. Like, during isolation, I decided to take like hold myself accountable. I had to be honest with myself and be like, Jada, this is the truth about you when it comes to your craft and when it comes to you as a person and all of these things. And so that is what a good season of isolation was. And I still wish I would have did some things better. Even going back to people and friendships, I feel like that season of isolation could have went a lot better if I would have like cut certain people off during that time, because sometimes when you isolate yourself and you really start to grow and become better and develop into something much bigger and better, you're going to have people that try and pull you back into your old self. And that is what I was dealing with. And I felt the biggest conflict in my heart, because it was just like, I don't want to be that Jada anymore. After, when you see yourself as this new you know how people talk about, oh, like, they'll talk about like you're standing in a prayer, or not you're standing in a prayer. They'll be like, the season you're in, it's like something you prayed for a while ago or whatever. That's how I felt like the Jada I was, where my creativity was, where my heart was. Even just, it's like, it felt like a weight lifted off of me. And it wasn't like, oh, I just became a perfect person or nothing. I still had issues. I still have issues now that I'm still working on, that I'm like aware of. But it was like a lot of things that were weighing me down, like not being able to forgive people really can weigh you down. Being jealous, that's such a dark feeling, like to hold. Being jealous of people, that's something that really weighs you down. And so to be able to see people that you love and know succeed and do well, and you feel nothing like but happiness and joy for them, like all of that stuff, it just made me feel so much lighter. And so when you see yourself being this version of yourself that you never thought you would be, but then you have people trying to pull you back to the old you, and me being the type of person that I was, like being afraid to speak up and say, no, that's not who I am anymore. That's not who I want to be. And I would kind of say it, but I wouldn't like stand on my word. It just caused so much like conflict, so much friction, you know? And so, yeah, that's basically like my good season of isolation. Every time I think about that time period, it does actually make me really happy, because so much came out of it. My faith was built during that season. I took like my first huge, well, not my first huge leap of faith. I'll say I've been taking like leaps of faith for a while now, or as far as like for years. Even before knowing God, I took leaps of faith, but it was like a whole new level where I was at, like as far as taking leaps of faith for my business, you know. I was doing things that I never did before. I was thinking in new ways. Everything was just like going like this, you know. And so I feel like that's the benefit of just stepping away from everything, stepping away from your environment, and just isolating, stepping away from the people that aren't good for you, stepping away from everything that isn't adding to you. If you need to take a break from your business, you know, do that. If you need to, I don't know, just whatever you need to take a break from, I recommend doing it, and just focusing on like working on you, I think the most important thing to work on is your heart, like your spirit, because whatever you go through internally, that's going to flow to all the other parts of your life, and it'll flow into your business, right? And we talk about this too in the book clubs, but it's like, and I know Trey talk about this too, say it's like, okay, you have a hard time speaking up in your personal life, you're going to have a hard time speaking up to your clients, right? You have a hard time trying to get what you deserve, or even standing up for your worth in your personal life. It's going to come that way when you're trying to charge certain prices to your clients. Like everything flows in every area of your life. And so it's so good to have those seasons of isolation, to not even just focus on oh, I want to get this skill for my business, I want to get this skill for my business, but focus on what can I do as a person to work on me, right? Exactly. Like, what can I do to work on myself internally, so that way I could come out of this season a newer person, a better person, but I could come out of this season with a new heart change, and from that you'll see all this fruit be produced in your life. Not just, oh, let me come out of this with some new skills, because the skills mean nothing if your heart ain't in the right place.
So you gotta be intentional about it.
Exactly.
So before going into it, or when you realize that you're in it, think like kind of like a list of stuff that you gotta work on.
Wait, your phone broke up. Say that one more time.
I said like prior to you going into the season, should you make like a list of stuff that you got to work on?
Oh yes. So I had two lists, right? I had a list for fashion, and I had a list for like my spirit. We'll call it that. And I still had a list on my phone. So for the list, we'll call it the internal list. I remember one day it was like God just held this big truth mirror up in front of my face, and he said, I took out my phone and he said, this is what you are. Write it down. You are lazy. You are a procrastinator. You are this. You are that. You are jealous. You are all of these things. It was a long list. A long list. And
so did you pray before that he showed you this list? Or
I don't even think I prayed. It was like, I think it was literally like me walking by the mirror, and it was like God just stopped me. And I look in the mirror, and it was like, take out your phone, and all of this stuff. You are this, you are this, you are this, you are this, you are this. And it wasn't like God was doing it to make me feel bad or anything like that. It was more so like, here's the truth. And I knew sometimes people will talk about like, oh, how are you really hearing from God, or is it just yourself? I would have never told myself any of that stuff. Like literally, I wasn't the type of person to hold myself responsible or like accountable to like anything at that time. I would have never told myself that I was jealous, or not jealous, but I would have never told myself I was lazy. I was like, I used to call myself like, I was a good BSer. We talked about this on our podcast too. Like I used to put up the best show like I was really doing stuff, but I wasn't. I would make it look good like I was doing stuff, but I really wasn't. So
Yeah,
exactly. So I wouldn't have just told myself, oh, take out your phone, Jada, and write out this list. It was literally God telling me, like, no, Jada, this is who you are. These are the things that you struggle with, XYZ, all of that good stuff. And so I had a list, and I kept that list with me on my phone. And I said, okay, these are the things that I want to work on. And then as far as fashion, once God gave me vision on, okay, this is what, once God gave me vision on this is what I need to do for my brand. Like this is the vision for my brand that he gave me. I was like, okay, based off of this vision that I have, like this is where I'm moving towards for my brand. These are the skills that I need to learn. These are the things that I need to be able to do as a designer. These are the things that I've always desired to be able to do, but I was always scared to do it. And I went and I bought so many books, so many personal development books, but even so many fashion books. I was reading books on books on books. I was doing so much and just soaking in so much like knowledge and information. And so, yes, I definitely had like lists because I wanted to be intentional and just more so be aware of, okay, what are the things that I'm working on during this season of isolation. And so, yeah, definitely had some lists.
Yeah, because I feel like if you're not intentional about it or you don't know exactly what you got to work on, then it becomes like a bad isolation.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, you're just separating yourself with no direction.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you are okay. So say if you are on a beach with some friends and you say, or you just decide I'm about to go get on this boat, but you have no intention of like where you're actually about to take this boat. You will end up going so far away from your community in this boat for no reason because you have no idea where you're going. But if you're like, okay, I'm about to isolate myself so I can go get some fish. I'm about to get on this boat so I can get some fish. Yes, exactly. Then you have a purpose. You have some type of mission. Not, oh, I'm just going to float around until I figure out what I'm doing here, or either acting like you have some type of purpose as to why you're getting on this boat and why you're about to go isolate, but really it's no purpose behind it at all. So yeah,
Definitely gotta be intentional.
definitely.
Damn, you just helped me, Jada. Help me. I learned a lot. You just helped me.
Oh, well, I'm glad I could. This was cool. I want to get on live more.
Yeah, but I really appreciate you for sharing your story, you know what I'm saying, to the people, you know what I'm saying. You ain't need to do that, you know what I'm saying. You opened up and shared your story.
No, for sure. This was fun. I like talking, so I like that I was share my story.
You're a good person to like you should actually consider being a therapist.
Really? But it wasn't like you were talking to me. I was the one doing the talking.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but I do want to be able to help people. I've always had some type of desire to help people get into a better situation. Even before I got saved, I always realized that I was trying to point people towards some type of source, but then once I got saved, I realized, oh, now I'm trying to point people to God. But I always had some type of love or desire to help people in my life, to be some type of encouragement. Even something that I really love, like one of the main compliments that I always get is people will tell me, your spirit is such a light. Like there's something about your spirit, like you have such a nice spirit or a great spirit, or something along those lines, where they'll say like your spirit attracted me to you because it is such a light. And so I feel like I know that I am supposed to be able to help people some type of way. I just don't know what that is. And right now I feel like I'm trying to figure that out. And it's crazy because Yanni told me something recently that God put on her heart, as far as like showing her like this vision that even through my brand, like Jael, I'm supposed to help women. Like it's more than just dresses, but actually like help women. She was like, all the stuff like that you've been through in your life wasn't just for you to go through it and that's it, but you will actually be using your story, the things you've been through, to help other people, to help other women. And so yeah, like I desire to help people some type of way. I've always tried to be like that positive friend, or help people get on the right track, or give them ideas and stuff like that. But I just don't know what that looks like right now. I just don't answer it.
Possibly take your platform or your brand that you already got and incorporate it with like a message or something.
Yeah. And I think that's maybe where I could start. I used to be so afraid to talk on social media, but now because of the podcast, I feel like I'm like a lot more comfortable speaking now than I was before. Like now I could get on live, or I could get on social media and talk. But before I was so scared to share my voice, or so scared to share what I believed in or my story. But now I feel like I'm like a lot more confident when it comes to that. So yeah, maybe just seeing how I can tie that message in. I think I used to think, how can I do that with dresses or clothes?
Probably like take the message or whatever that you come up with and write it on the side of the clothes or something.
Yeah.
But
with dresses, it's like I still wanted to have that high fashion look. But okay, so I know one idea that God gave me is basically using my brand or through my fashion shows, like telling stories through my fashion shows that could kind of like.
That's hard.
I think that would be cool because my first collection I did after I came out of that season of isolation, I did a collection called Testimony Collection, and basically
that's on the packaging.
That would be cool too. I think that would be dope. I remember I came out the season of isolation and I did my first collection, and basically it was called Testimony Collection, and each piece basically represented a part of my story of what I just went through. And so how I would explain it is, when you think about somebody's story or somebody's journey, no, your whole journey does not look the same, right? Like each piece looks different. Or even when you think of a puzzle, each piece of a puzzle is completely different, but they all come together to create one story. So all pieces of my journey all come together to create one testimony. And so when I created this collection, it was basically meant to represent that. So each piece, most of the times when people create a collection for a brand, you use similar fabrics or have like, it flows, right? It all looks like it's meant to go together. But for this collection, each piece looked completely different from the next, and they all had names. I had a piece called Confidence, a piece called Identity, a piece called Growth. It was a piece called Expression, Transition, Purpose. And so all of those pieces came together to create my testimony. But each piece literally almost represented that word. Like it looked like it should be called that word. And so I created that, and that was my first time doing like more storytelling through a collection. And so I know I want to do more stuff like that, but continue to do it on a bigger scale. Like I want my fashion shows to be like movies, like literal art, but I don't know, as far as like from a one-on-one perspective, right? Like say a client comes to me and I'm working with them. How do I do this on a one-on-one perspective? I know how to do it on a larger scale for fashion shows and stuff, but how can I do it on a more intimate level? And so, yeah, I have to think about that, but I do think you're right about maybe just starting to talk more about like through my brand messaging and stuff like that on Instagram. Maybe that.
Thinking though, that's a good start to do the messaging for the one-on-ones, but I feel like I gotta think of something that's way bigger than that. Like something that's like anybody can write a message and put on some clothes, you feel me?
Yeah.
But it needs to be a little.
I have thought of one time. This is not nothing set in stone, but one time I thought about embroidering like messages inside the clothes, and so it's not necessarily meant for it to be seen. It's like an
Oh,
internal
like
thing.
inside, like on the inside.
Yeah. Like when they get in the dress, they see like a message embroidered in
But
it.
it's hidden.
Yeah,
Hidden type of.
exactly. Because it's meant for the person, not for the people who are looking at the dress from the outside. But it's that message is meant for the person. But,
Yeah, that's different.
but yeah, I don't know. I'll see. But yeah, I definitely wanna help people. And one thing about me too is I know I'm getting better at it now, but I've been like an overshare. So I I'll be so quick to just tell people my business, like my personal business, but it'll be from the point of view of I want to tell you my business so that way you feel like you're not alone. Like I done been through all of this stuff in my life, so you done been scammed, me too. You got raped, me too. You had an emotionally abusive parent, me too. You like you had a boyfriend or a girlfriend or something that died, me too. You have like all this stuff that's happened in my life. I'll tell people because I want them to feel like you're
Yeah.
not alone, huh?
You want them to feel like they're not the only ones that dealt with it.
Exactly. But you mentioned earlier, sometimes like telling people all your business or even just letting people too close to you, it makes you vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I know that I can't really do that much, but I still feel like I should use the things that I've been through to help other people because I done made it through to the other side. So I use what I've been through to help other people in those
Yeah,
areas.
I feel like it just depends on how you express it. You don't want to kind of like say like, oh, I went through this, and you're not the only one. I feel like you should use it as like I went through this, but because I went through this, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of like trying to turn
Exactly.
it positive.
Yeah, and so it's all about like just figuring out how do you want to be a light to people. And there's a certain way, and I guess that's where discernment comes in, like deciding, okay, me going to God and asking Him, like, okay, how do I use my story to help people? How do I use my voice to be a blessing to somebody else or help them get through something? But yeah, it's just a matter of taking my time to figure it out. It's not something that I'm trying to necessarily rush, like, oh, I need to hurry up and just start telling people all my business or everything about my life so I can just start helping people right now. My goal is to help people, but I feel like it's a certain way you go about things,
Yeah,
So
I can
I don't know. It'll come to
speak
me.
too.
Huh?
I can see you speaking because I remember I watched when y'all first did your event, and I watched like I think I was on your live, and the way
Yeah.
you was, like I can tell that you like you've been doing this.
And that was crazy because that was my first time speaking. I had never spoken before, so
Yeah, you
and
on the mic, and then you was like just like how ET be, you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, you was like I don't know how this shit was
No,
going.
I know what you mean. That was crazy because that was my first time speaking, and I remember I was like really nervous at first, but then I knew it was like once I knew what the purpose of me talking was, like I knew I was talking to kids, and I was thinking, okay, how do I relate to them? How do I tell them something that actually is going to be meaningful to them? Somebody had gave me a piece of advice, and they were like, people don't care about you. They don't care about what you have to say. They care about themselves, and they only want to hear whatever you're about to tell them, how is it going to help them? And so when I was thinking, well, I'm talking to a bunch of kids right now, like who are all teenagers, what does whatever I have to say, how is that going to be important to them? And once I figured that out, I was like, okay, I got my speech. I'm about to go and knock this out. But I would definitely like to speak more. I think I just got to get better with my filler words, my likes and my ums.
You remind me of what's her name, Sarah Jakes.
Oh, I never listened to her. I need to check her out.
You should tap into her, like the way she speaks. I like Sarah Jakes. She good.
She seems cool though. I see her videos pop up, like reels and stuff. But I never seen. I think I've seen like a full video from her, so I gotta check her out.
Yeah, and you could start off by making like YouTube videos. You know what I'm saying? Like you in the car or something, or you sitting down like now just like a
Yeah.
10-minute word. You know what I'm saying? A 10-minute piece of advice. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna do it. You can hold me accountable to it.
I can see that.
I think I just gotta know, like, what do people want to hear, or like, you know.
Or
And
you,
so it's easy right now because I'm talking to you. If I'm talking to a camera, it's not the same.
but I feel the same way, yeah. It's easier to talk on live or FaceTime with somebody. Like, I tried making a video, not talking to somebody before. Like I don't know. I don't know. I know exactly what you said. It's easy when you're having a conversation with somebody.
Exactly, because you even throughout this, you asked me questions that pulled out other stuff for me to say.
Yeah.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Did check it inbox. I'm trying to. Okay, that's a bit. I'll check. But yeah, I think it's easier on live having conversations, just or like you said, FaceTime, because you're getting feedback. Even like when we be in book club, we could be on the phone for hours talking because of feedback. We talk about a lot of good stuff on there.
Just bounce off each other.
Exactly, but I'm supposed to bounce off myself, like if I'm recording by myself, you know. So that's the thing with that. But maybe I'll just start going on live and just seeing what people want to hear, what people want to talk about. But
Like do a poll or something, ask people, or you can really just go based off like what you went throughout the day, basically. So at the end of the day, you're gonna like look back and be like, all right, so what did I do today? You know what I'm saying? Because every day you take
I
something.
got an idea. Wait. So what if I? Dang. Okay, I don't know. All right, I was gonna say, what if I started doing videos on? It could be topic-based videos, and say it could just be how I got over, like how I got over how I got over or how I overcame, how I grew through, something along those lines, and then maybe it could just be like a couple-minute video talking about it, but I could do it in a cool way.
Yeah, like it's all based off like real experiences. Like so, for example, if your tire popped the other day, you're gonna talk about your tire popping and what you took away from that, what God showed you through that, and what you learned at the end, like stuff you go out to, like you know what I'm saying. Like today you went to church, what you took away from being church. Like of course,
Yeah.
like yeah, I don't think you should really overthink it or like over plan. Just go based off what about the day.
Nah, that's true. I'll see.
Yeah.
I'll see. I'm gonna come up with something.
You definitely should get on YouTube, bro. You do that. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be bigger than just, you making dresses. You're gonna have a whole, you know what I'm saying? People gonna know you for you.
Nah,
You know what I'm saying?
sure. And I think I avoided for a while putting my personality into my business and any of my businesses because I was like very afraid of showing my personality for a while. I had this thing where I basically would be scared to show my full self, show like all of Jada. And I'm so happy I've come out of that because I'm like definitely more myself now.
I used to be the same way, bro. Like,
Yeah, crazy, like for real. But yeah, I used to be so scared of like showing the world who Jada is. So because of that, on social media, I never showed my personality. I didn't want to talk about how I love God. I didn't want to talk about stuff I thought was funny. I didn't want to talk about anything because I cared so much about, well, what if I say I show this side of myself and people don't like it? And I'll get like in my head about that. And that's something I actually kind of started growing out of last year. I had like a friend help me through that by just like pushing me to get out my comfort zone. But yeah, definitely that, like getting out your comfort zone, getting out your head, and just like being comfortable with being yourself. That's something that's helped me to start like showing up on social media, and now I can like show my personality. Like I've been getting on live lately on my one of my business pages. And that's something I would never do. When I say I used to get scared to go on live, I would be terrified. And now it's just like, okay, cool. You know, it's like going live by myself, like going on live with somebody else, like, okay, it's more comfort there. But I would go on live by myself and just talk to my people that follow me. And so, yeah, definitely glad that I'm like out of my head now. And I'm just comfortable to be Jada. And it's like, okay, whoever like it, like it. And if you don't like it, then that's your problem. Okay? The heck?
Yeah.
But
Nah, when you said you used to be afraid to post about like God and stuff, I used to be the same way. Like I used to be scared to kind of like incorporate God within my brand and then post it because I used to be like, I don't know, I used to be like, people gonna think I'm soft or something, or people gonna be like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, it's like you don't want people to think, or I would say I didn't want people to think like, oh, she religious or whatever. It's okay, you know. I just used to be scared of what people might say, but none of that matters. Like it literally matters what no one has to say about you, and that I feel like that's with anything. Because who are you living your life for? Something I have to keep asking myself lately: are you going to choose another person over your purpose? Are you going to choose another person over God? Are you going to choose another person over what makes you happy? Literally, I've been feeling like I've been getting put in situations that go against what I want to do for me and what God wants me to do. And I just had to ask myself, are you going to pick them over God? Like, if you were to die right now, would you be happy that you picked them over God? Like, especially, like, God is so good to me. God blesses me, man. Like, God blesses me. And it's crazy because even when I didn't believe in God, God had, like, his hand over my life. He made a way for me, for real. And so it's just like sometimes I feel like, dang, I feel guilty because like how long is God supposed to keep showing me like I will bless you, I will give you opportunities, I will literally give you life-changing opportunities, I will give you money on top of money on top of money, I will do all of this, I will give you people in your life that love you, I will give you so much stuff. And it's kind of like how many times does God have to show me that in order for me to choose him over everything else? How many times does God have to show you that he loves you, that he's there for you, that he got your back, for you to choose him over everything else? And so that's something.
Treasy, come on, Treasy. We gotta get Treasy in here, man. We gotta get my boy Treasy. Oh, he tried to decline it, Treasy. Damn, Treasy.
Okay. Yeah, I just have to ask myself that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just had to ask myself that. I kept picking other things over what I really wanted. It's been so many times I picked other people over my happiness. It's funny. But yeah, it's been so many times that I picked other people over my happiness. I picked other people over God. I picked other people over my purpose, all because I care so much about what people think. And it's just like, why? I came into this world by myself. This person literally is not coming with me when I die. So why do I care so much about what this person has to think or what this person has to say, you know?
Yeah, and the same people I used to do that for, like the same people I used to kind of like be embarrassed to show God to, I don't even talk to those people anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they're actually holding me back. Literally.
And you'll be surprised when you start living for you, people's feelings is gonna get hurt for sure. I've learned that too. When you start doing things that you want to do because you know it's what's best for you, people's feelings are gonna get hurt. People are gonna feel offended. They're gonna be upset, especially if they're so used to you being the person that's pleasing, right? Like you're a people pleaser or whatever. But it's literally something that you have to do. I heard somebody say before, or it could have been in a book, but you have to be the star of your own movie, not the supporting role to everybody else's movie. So if in your life you're the supporting role to everybody else's movie, that means you're focused on being the assistant to everybody else's main character. You're focused on making everybody else happy or making sure everybody else gets what they want. But when you focus on being the main character in your own story, the only thing that matters is what is best for me, what is best for my life, what is adding to my life, not thinking about, oh, what about this person, that person, the next, because none of that matters. Nobody else is thinking that when it comes to you. Nobody else is thinking, oh, what does Goni think about this? You know, like, well, nobody is sitting around making decisions based off of you. Nobody else is sitting around making decisions based off of Jada. Like, oh, what is Jada going to think if I, whatever. You know, nobody is doing that. Everyone is focusing on themselves. So it's like you might as well live that same way, you know?
Yeah, and that's a good way to really tell if somebody's for you or not.
Mm-hmm.
By just acting like you don't mess with them no more, or acting not even acting like that. Be like just telling them like you kind of got to step to the side so you can focus on yourself, so you can kind of get to where you want to be. And if they get mad or if they kind of like, you know what I'm saying, are questioning you, that means they really not for you, because that means they don't want your best interest.
Exactly. Yeah, people that does show like people's true colors for real.
I use that to test people all the time. You know what I'm saying? That's the best way too.
Yeah, like you start doing stuff that makes you happy, and if they have a problem with it, then it's like, oh, okay, I see your true colors. Or, you know, like even it's a lot of ways that you can see if people really see their true colors. But you gotta just be mindful of people's actions. Be mindful of people how they act when you're going through certain seasons, or as you start to change and grow. Ooh, when people get upset that you are growing, that's how you know, like, oh yeah, let me cut the church tonight. Like, what?
Hurts people.
Like, for real.
They want to keep you here when you trying to get here. Nobody wants you really better than them, bro. Nobody really wants you.
I think some people get scared because they're just comfortable. They're comfortable with you being at that place, and that's what they're used to. Like, oh, I'm used to you being at this place. I don't want you to move on. I don't want you to elevate to this new level. I want you to stay here with me, where I'm at, you know? And so I think that'd be some people's thought process too. It's like they're scared of what it means for you to grow, because they know that if you're choosing to grow, you're also being a reflection to them, showing them that you're still staying in the same place. And so it's also like a reflection of how it's making them feel, or how does it look on them, you know?
Lose you, because they know if you start growing and growing, that means you become less available.
Yeah.
And that's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, hey. I don't know if you dealt with this before, but like trying to bring people with you. It's like, okay, come on, grow with me. But you can't force people to grow. They have to choose to grow on their own, you know?
Yeah.
They have to choose to take that journey on their own. I feel like even for all of us, right? We all chose to grow, and then we came together, right? And now, because we all have that mindset that we are the type of people that love growth, and we choose to grow, we want to grow. Now we're going to continue to grow together. But say the people that you maybe grew up with, if y'all weren't all at that same mindset before, and this kind of goes back to what I mentioned earlier, as far as like being equally yoked, your friendships, where they started at, wherever your friendship started at, and let's just focus on like friendships from the past, but this applies to all relationships and friendships. Where those friendships started at, y'all were equally yoked. When y'all decided to come and get into friendship, relationship, y'all were on the same level. Y'all were at the same level of thinking. Y'all had the same mindset. Y'all cared about the same things. Y'all viewed a lot of things the exact same way. But then it becomes unequally yoked when one person starts to go through some type of change and decide, oh, shoot, I want to grow. Oh, I'm starting to realize what I want for myself. Oh, I want to become better. When one of those people in that friendship starts to realize it, but the other person doesn't, now there is friction. Now, for some reason, it just feels like conflict. It feels like friction in this relationship. It's no longer equally yoked. Y'all can no longer move through life together with ease. Y'all can no longer go through life together the same way that y'all were once before, and it's not working, because now you're trying to attract a new level of people But it's hard for you to fully get to where you're trying to go because you're still holding on to all those other people that you're unequally yoked with. Like you barely even on the same like level as them anymore, but you're trying to hold on. You can't fully get to where you're trying to go until you untie yourself from all those people that you're unequally yoked with, and then you can like fully go to that next level that you're trying to get to. But that's what happens. That's what happens in friendships when one person wants to grow and the other person doesn't. That friction that you have is because y'all have become unequally yoked. Y'all once started at the same place, but y'all are no longer there. And so you have to just learn how to let that go or figure out what this relationship is going to be. But it won't be able to be the same thing that it was once it started because you got two different people. You can't have the same relationship with, it's literally two different people now. You are not the same person that you were at that time. You have become a whole new person. So it just couldn't make sense any type of way. It couldn't work any type of way. So it has to become something new or be nothing at all.
Yeah, I literally dealt with that so many times. Like I used to really get on my knees and beg my friends, y'all gotta do this, y'all gotta cut that out, go this way. I used to beg people, and every time I used to beg them, and I used to think, oh, they gonna finally change. I used to get disappointed. But that's exactly why I moved down here to the A.
Yeah.
I couldn't deal with it. Like it takes away your energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to beg people, like
literally
stop doing that, bro. We you know what I'm saying? Like we grown now. You can't be doing that no more. Like you gotta cut that out. It's like here and comes out the other.
It's not gonna work though. That's what you gotta learn. That's what I had to learn. It's not gonna work because y'all not on the same page anymore. It's y'all not gonna be able to move forward together unless they just had that same spark that you did. Like, oh, I want to become this person, or oh, I want to grow in this way. Then y'all could continue to grow together. But I'm trying to think. I don't really know if I have many people that I grew with. Yeah, I don't know that I've had as child, and I still have childhood friends. Actually, I had some people that have grown, that I've grown with to an extent, but now it's feeling like I feel like I grow at a fast pace now. And so sometimes you have a person that grows at a fast pace, someone who doesn't grow as fast. It still causes friction, even if the person is growing. Someone who is moving like this and someone who is just moving like this.
Yeah, and then they start feeling like
imbalance,
Yeah, I had this homegirl tell me like, so I'm trying to like get her to execute on this, execute on that, and then she felt like I was rushing her.
Yeah. So
and to this day, she hasn't even did what we've been said. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, I feel like everybody's timing is different. You gotta just, you know what I'm saying, like you can't always try to put that spark on other people. You gotta just let everything play out, man. But the thing about that is though, like certain people like gonna feel like you like everyone says that you gotta bring your friends that you grew up with up. Like you gotta put people on. So people be taking stuff personally, like, oh, he ain't never put me on. He forgot about me. You know what I'm saying? He's supposed to help us eat too. But it's like
you gotta put yourself on though, and not meaning you have to go through life by yourself, but you have to put yourself on to becoming a better person.
Yeah.
You have to literally make that choice because no one else can make it for you. I could throw all the opportunities in the world. You could throw all the money in the world at other people. That does not change them. You ever heard somebody say, if they took all the money in the world, all the trillions of dollars in the world, and they split it up evenly and gave it to every single person on the earth, majority of it will go back to all the 1%ers that had all the money. And all the people that was broke will go right back to being broke because the person did not change. They're just going to end up giving all their money away or spending it or getting rid of it because they're still the same person. They're going to mentally take themselves back to where they once were before, and then that's going to just flow out into their actual physical life. And so people say, oh, you have to put your friends on or put certain people on. They have to put themselves on first in choosing to take the step to become a better person. And that may sound harsh, But I'm just looking at it from my point of view. I have plenty of people in my life telling me that I needed to grow or I needed to become better in certain areas, and I never listened. It didn't matter until I chose to do it for myself. I had to put myself on in that way, you know, like I had to make the choice myself to become better. And then the people that I started to meet that were in a better place than me, they were able to help pull me up, because you know I was new to this life of personal development and growth and all of these things. And so now that I'm like a baby in this area, you have people in your life that you start to meet who are maybe more experienced in that area. When they see that, oh, she's trying to crawl, she's trying to become more developed, let me pull her up. Now I can put her on. But if you're not, if you haven't even like got to that point yet, to where you really want to put in some type of work to grow and develop and become better, then it's kind of like you kind of just have to stay where you are, you know?
Yeah, he said I've dealt with that. You can be an inspiration, but everybody has their own perspectives of what success is.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally. You can't force people to chase their dreams because it'll postpone you from yours. That part, man.
Yeah, everybody has their own arms and legs. Like, you can't force somebody to do this and do that and think this way. Like, you just gotta hope that they change. You know what I'm saying? You guys just hope that they.
Think about it this way. God doesn't do that with us. If that's the case, everybody will be walking in their purpose. God waits for us to make a choice. One, we have to make a choice to give our life to God. We have to make a choice for our own salvation.
Mm-hmm.
God doesn't force us to get saved. Two, you have to also make a choice to change your life. You have to, we have to make these choices. Even though God has a plan for us, God has a perfect plan for us, He has a purpose for us, we still have to make the choice to walk into that purpose, into that life. And so in our minds, we could have not a plan for our friends, but we could see their purpose, or maybe we could see their potential. We could see what they could have, and we will try and help them walk through this plan. Like, oh, if you do this and you do this and you do this, you could get here. But they have to make the choice, just like how God makes us make a choice, or God lets us make a choice. Our friends and our family, they have to make a choice too.
Yeah, I was about to say
Anything time you're a hero if you ain't got anything going on for yourself. I can't keep pouring all that I've built into nothingness, period. That part.
Yeah.
I feel that is true.
Yeah. God's gonna show you. God will show you. Like, God's been showing me my potential since I was like a freaking kid, you know what I'm saying, middle school, but I really take action on it, or really like be like, oh, you know what I'm saying, let me go towards that until, you know, high school, after high school and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, God will show it to you. It's just about you if you're gonna take advantage of it. Like, and God will constantly show you signs. He might put somebody in your life that's, you know, trying to show you this, show you that, and you know what I'm saying, you just gotta catch on to the signs, basically. Like,
mm-hmm. No, definitely. Do you remember when your mindset finally changed?
Yeah.
Like, what was that like for you when you finally was like, I want different. Like, I want better for myself. What was the thing that clicked? I feel, oh yeah, you can say what you're going to say.
When I started my brands, when I was 18, 2 years ago.
So when you started your brand, was your mindset not in the right place? And
at that time, I was in college. So when my mindset shifted was like, so I dropped out of college. I was working a job. I quit all that the same day. I dropped out of college. I dropped it the same day. Mind you, I had a good job. Like, it was like an office job or something. It had something to do with my major, like internship. So it was paying me like $26 an hour.
Oh yeah.
But I was going
cool for a college student for sure. Yeah. Like,
yeah, I was going into an office every day, and I just didn't feel fulfilled. Like, I was just like, what am I doing? I feel like I'm just clocking in. Like, I didn't feel fulfilled. Like, I wasn't happy, basically. Mm-hmm. So that's when my mindset shifted. And then I think I read.
That wasn't the life you wanted for yourself.
You said what?
Realizing that wasn't the life you wanted for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I've always had like visions of like being wealthy and stuff and just being crazy stuff, doing crazy. And I'm like, I can't be wealthy if I'm staying here punching the clock and every day. Exactly. And first, I didn't even like my major at all. Like, I don't even know how I got the job. Like, I don't. It was some computer, like some IT. I think it was like cybersecurity.
Yeah.
I just did it because my mom pressed me to do it. She was like, do this. I didn't like. It was my second semester. I was like, I can't do this no more. So I let that go, and then God just gave me the vision of a brand. You know what I'm saying? He gave me the vision in 2020, at the end of 2020. You feel me? And 2020 was the last time I smoked too. Like I told myself before going into 2021, I'm never smoking again. I haven't smoked since.
Oh.
Yeah, 2020 was when he's like, he's like, oh, start a brand. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking to my homegirl about it, and she's like, yeah, you can start a brand. She's like, we talk about names, and I think she mentioned the name Isolation. She mentioned that name, and that's when I was like as soon as she said it, I was like, oh, that's the one. That's
I like that. That's cool.
Because if I look at like everything I've been through, like the backstory of my entire life, I've been through seasons of isolation, back and forth, and I came on top each time. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, I'm saying. And then from there, when I started the brand, that's when I started like kind of like started reading more and educating myself and you know what I'm saying, like just personal development basically. Yeah.
That's cool. That's what's up.
Yeah. How about you?
I feel like I had a bunch of little nudges. But I kind of think, what was the big moment where I was like, finally, like, okay, I'm done.
Like enough is enough. Let me turn that.
You said what?
I said, like, when's that time when you was like, enough is enough?
That's so hard. It's actually hard for me to remember when that was. Or maybe I say it's hard because I had that moment in different areas of my life. So for me, it wasn't one swift, enough is enough for everything. And I'm just about to work on all of these areas. For me, it was like one step at a time. Like, okay, enough is enough. I'm tired of fumbling thousands and thousands of dollars. I focused on working on that. Enough is enough. I'm tired of my skill being where it is. I'm tired of BS in my work. I'm tired of BS in my craft. Enough is enough. Let me start. Actually, that's when I locked in and I worked on the stuff during that isolation period. Like worked on my craft during that period. And then even as I go through like my different internal things, like, okay, enough is enough when it comes to me being afraid to speak up. That's where I'm at right now. Like, all right, enough is enough. I have to change. Okay, I can't keep being scared to open my mouth and speak up for myself. I think for me it's just been gradual. But I'll say there was a long portion of my life that I didn't care. Actually, all right, now I know what it is. So it still was gradual, but the moment that I started to care, I think it was actually me having to drop out of college because I could no longer play around.
You went to college?
Yeah, I went for a year. A year and a half. I dropped out.
What was your major?
Fashion design.
Oh, so it kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So it benefited you.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Definitely. I think. Well, the school didn't benefit me. The relationships did. The fashion program was terrible there. Well, let me not talk about them like that. Clark Atlanta is cool or whatever, but their relationships benefited me for sure. But I think dropping out of college is what first made me realize, okay, something has to change, because that like awoke a whole new fire in me, because it's like, all right, I don't want to go back home to Texas. I don't want to go back home to Texas. I really no, for real, Trey. I don't want to go back home to Texas, and I really want to stay in Atlanta. So something has to change. I have to figure out a way to make money so I can stay out here. And I was like, I need to start taking my business more seriously. That was the first like awakening I had, or whatever. That was my first moment that I was like, okay, let me start treating my business better. For sure, for sure. I love my HBCU, even though they was ghetto, and I didn't graduate. But yeah, that was my first. That's my first moment where I finally had like a mindset shift. Cause I think that's actually when I started reading and getting books. Yeah, all of that stuff happened after dropping out. So I think that was the same for me. But gradually, each part of my life, it feels like every part of my life I had to get fed up. And I think that happens with a lot of people. Yanni talked about that too. A lot of things you gotta get fed up before you finally decide to change. Um, and that's still happening. Like I said, right now I'm at a point where I'm really tired of not being able to speak up for myself. I literally
Just
dislike that.
speak up for yourself.
Yeah, speaking up for myself. I dislike that about myself so much, and I'm like sick and tired of it. And but it feels so hard. It's like I actually I want to change. I want to grow in that area. I want to get better, but it still feels hard. But yeah, it's been a gradual thing for me over time, for sure. But after college, that was the first time I was like, okay, yeah, I want to.
Wait, when it goes to like speaking up for yourself, like what are you afraid to like kind of like hurt their feelings or like?
I think about them not liking what I have to say. And yeah, hurting their
Wrong
feelings.
way?
Um, or oh yeah, see, yeah, I know me and Trey, we both go through that. Definitely, yeah, caring about what they're going to think, how they're going to react if they don't like what I have to say. And also like how you said, saying it in a nice, like not or them thinking it's mean or something. I know growing up, my dad used to like yell at me and be like, if I would say something, even as an adult, he still done this. If I say something and he doesn't like how I said it, he'll yell at me and tell me to say it in a nice way. Find a nice way to say it. It was never like I was given the freedom to try and figure out how to express what I'm feeling or how to express this. These are the emotions that I'm feeling right now. It's like, well, I don't care what your emotions are. You're gonna communicate those emotions in a nice way. And so I know that's something that gets stuck in my head often when I try and communicate like how I feel about things. But yeah, I overthink. I overthink what is going to happen after I do this. It's like in my head, the whole world's gonna explode after I say,
Yeah.
I don't like this, or don't treat me like that, or something, or I don't want to do this. You know, I
I feel
get
like I'm kind of like that, but kind of like towards like opposite. Like I feel like I'm too blunt,
yeah,
and I feel like it be hurting people. I don't know. I feel like I gotta be a little nicer.
yeah. My mom be saying that. She said one day you're gonna get fed up and you just gonna start going off on people. But I don't want it to get to that point. I don't want to just have this day where I wake up and I just
Yeah,
like yelling at people because that's not me. It's just a matter of finding that comfort now, or finding out how to be comfortable speaking now. You know?
yeah. You gotta have a balance. Like you gotta be able to communicate like in a firm way, but still be respectful.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
not definitely. It's a work in progress, though, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that just made me self-aware of myself because I didn't even realize until you just said that. I didn't even realize that's actually something I gotta work on.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Trey just said he
Well,
feels like
about speaking out,
you don't want to
being a
come off aggressive or rude. Yeah, I don't be wanting to come off rude. I be wanting to come off super nice to people. Yeah, there's a way to communicate effectively. Um,
yeah, because I used to
practice. Like you just have to do it. Um,
people sensitive. Maybe they're not sensitive. Maybe I'm just
over.
too harsh. I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
I don't,
I mean, as you
We got
try to do it, you'll learn. And if you do actually do something that's too harsh, then you'll realize like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this next time. Yeah, you'll realize maybe I shouldn't say this or talk to this person that way next time. But also, you can see what type of communication skills do work or what is more effective, you know?
yeah.
So yeah,
Just gotta be a little sharper with the self-awareness.
definitely. I'm not about to finish sewing tonight.
Yeah. My fault, Jada.
I'm sleepy now.
You said 30 minutes, bro. We've been on there for like an hour.
Hour and a half, for real.
You guys an hour and a half? Oh, no. I think it might have been an hour and a half.
Yeah,
I think so.
we've been out here for a minute. But this was a cool conversation for sure.
This was a good conversation.
We had a nice amount of people hop on.